Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Michal Berg, who's here to share with us her Nautilus award-winning children's book, LB Discovering the Inner Light. What if children already have the courage, wisdom, and confidence they need, but they simply have not discovered it yet? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Michal Berg is passionate about helping children and parents recognize their inherent loving power, wisdom, and connection to the source for all. She's the CEO of SFK, a nonprofit organization dedicated to creating, training, and providing spiritual and social emotional programs available in 6 languages from children from diverse backgrounds around the world. So welcome to the show, Michal Berg.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here. And congratulations on your Silver Nautilus Award. I mean, what an accomplishment.
I was very, very excited and very honored. It was a really sweet acknowledgement. Yeah.
Well, it's easy to see. This book has beautiful illustrations, and the storyline itself was amazing. But let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to tell this story through the eyes of a little beetle named LB?
I just naturally, I just love nature and animals. And I always find it to be the greatest teachers. So there was no question for me that I'm going to be probably having the environment of a forest and it has to be an animal. And since the story is about discovering the inner light, I couldn't find a better animal to express that than a lighting bug. Both physically and metaphorically, it just works so beautifully. As you said, the illustrations are so beautiful. So it was really a beautiful process together with Margarita Sada. She is the illustrator. She's from Mexico City. She's absolutely a brilliant illustrator. And creating LB as the character, as she came to life to the illustration, it was like, whoa, it was magical. So it's everything I asked for. Really to have the expression of this story through a lighting bag, and especially LB, and especially illustrated by Margarita. So it just was a magical process from beginning to end.
Well, the book is absolutely stunning and so beautifully illustrated. What does LB's journey represent for children, and especially the adults reading alongside them?
I think it will probably represent to each one something else. Depends where they at in their lives and where they at the moment. But I think it will unite all of us in a journey of remembering. What I wish for this book to do is to really go through a process of remembering, oh, I have all this inside of me. I am that. And I just need to remember that more often. And especially when I'm being challenged or having difficult emotions, it's really a journey of remembering who I am, remembering what I have inside of me, and remembering to just stop for a second and tap into that every time, every day, every moment that I feel that I need that support. So I think it's really it's a process of and a journey of remembering, relaxing, trusting. That's what it did for me, and that's what I hope it will do for the children and the adults that read it for them, honestly, just as much.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's so sweet because LB at one point in this story, he's asking the question, who am I and why am I here? And so, why is it important for children to be asking these questions at an early age?
So I think, first of all, children ask a lot of questions when they are young. And I think that's the key. I think it's the asking the questions and to stay curious. Um, I feel that as long as we ask questions, we are kind of awake. And when we stop asking questions, it's a sign of we are a little bit asleep. Um, and not necessarily that all children ask those specific questions. And I think sometimes they don't even know to ask those questions in that specific way. But I remember as a child having those in the moments where I was just me and nothing was distracting me, and like, so interesting that we are here and what are we doing here? So those questions, I remember having them, but not necessarily specifically with those words. So I hope that those, just putting those questions there can evoke that feeling. A feeling that the children have, but didn't put them into words. And just to ask, nothing is obvious. So I think just to keep the questioning going, and I think that's the key. Questions. And by the way, I hope that the book is not giving a very specific answer, because it's not about the answers. It's really just about the questioning. This is a more important part of the process, is asking questions.
Having that curiosity, yes, I can see that. So, how can stories help children better understand and especially, manage those really difficult emotions?
I think stories are brilliant. Um, I think it's the ability to witness somebody else going through things that I might be going through, or um, and you see it through somebody else's eyes and their experience. I think it's such a great learning experience. So when I can see somebody else being challenged or feeling, oh, they also had a bad day and they also had those feelings and he felt jealous, it makes me feel, first of all, like, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one, like the crazy one. So you can reflect, you see yourself reflected in the story. And I think also the fact that it's somebody else's story and there's a little bit of a detachment, so it's not me actually going through the experience or the emotions, give you a better perspective. So I think stories for children are so important because they can see different experiences happening in situations and scenarios where they can now imagine themselves, oh, if I was in that situation, what would I do? Oh, this happened to me. Oh, I could have done that. So I think just stories are just brilliant teachers, really, to for children to see different life scenarios in a way that invoked my own imaginations and my own creativity about it, and my own also even ability to manage something like that in the future, or change things the way I did before, and now I have a different perspective. So I think stories, and for me it's interesting because I actually like short stories, and the reason why I like picture books and young children stories, because they really get to the essence of the message. There is something about it so potent that it's just what exactly you need to know. It really touches on many points, and it can be very deep but very simple. So yeah, stories are great.
Well, and in your book, I mean, to kind of dovetail with what you're talking about, you talked about fear and sadness and jealousy, and then there's frustration and anger. So, and much more. So, why was it important to include such a wide range of emotions?
I think naturally because we all, and children, of course, we feel them all, just in different times, and sometimes we actually feel, a few of them at the same time. But the main thing was, beside the fact that you want them to be able to relate to anything that they might be feeling in the moment or felt before, is that the almost like the technique or the solution or the process is the same for all of them. So whether I feel jealous or I feel angry, the process in the book of pausing and breathing and kind of like taking that moment is the same regardless of what you feel. And I think that was intentional to really say that no matter what you're going through, no matter what the challenge is, no matter what which emotion, the the comfort or the it's not a solution, but it's a tool, and the skill is the same for all of them.
Well, you also tap into very positive emotions like courage. So, what do you hope children learn about the courage LB experiences?
I think that sometimes we, even as adults, but I'm sure children, they when they see somebody doing something courageous, they probably think, oh, because he has no fear, he could do it because he wasn't afraid. And I think that with the example in the book where LB was actually very scared and uncomfortable seeing her friend being bullied, she was fearful. Or when she was scared of the storm, she was fearful, but she still took action. And um, there is a there's a great book by Susan David, and she's saying something very nice about courage. She said that courage is working with fear, and I think that's the message is that people do courageous thing not because they're not fearful, because they're working with the fear. They doing the action despite the fear, and I think that's a great lesson because we are all afraid. I was afraid to get on this call. I mean, it's not something I do every day, and it's not so natural. And so I have the fear. But I come on the call with the fear, and that's what courage is. And I just hope that every child will know that we are all fearful many times, and but yet we have the power and the ability to kind of hold the hand of our fear and do the action together with the fear.
That teaches such bravery, especially for young minds. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love how your story introduces the idea of inner light. How do you define that concept, especially for young readers?
Yeah, it's I think it goes back to what the journey that I would like to take the children through, and which is remembering. So I believe that we all have that memory of having that essence, and inner light can be different things to different people, and I don't want to define it too much. Um, and that's why in the book I kind of describe it more in a somatic way of like like it feels warm, it feels familiar, like it was always there. So it's a little bit more. First of all, it's broader, and it can really, some kids can relate to it as God, other can be its energy, intelligence, whatever that right for any. But essentially, again, it's from my own experience. I always felt that in, there was something with me all the time that made me feel safe. That somehow I could I felt it. I felt it. There was no words for it. There was no description. Um, and I hope through LB being a lightning bug, so there is the physical light, but then there is also the explanation of kind of like how it feels, what it gives me when I connected to it. That is the inner light. I just believe that we all have that. And, words don't always do a justice to what it is. And that's why I think that the description of kind of using the physical light with the spiritual light, I would say, works. And I think children that's really learning the concept that there is something inside of them that it's beyond their emotions and thoughts and body that's there all the time, and it gives all the supports and all the wisdom and the intuition, and everything is there. This is for me home. If I could give every child the sense that there's something inside of them that they can always tap into, that they can always draw from it comfort and guidance and trust. There's no other beautiful gift that we can give them from a young age, actually, because I really believe that the children today are born with a higher consciousness, and they are already, I don't know how many times they've been here before already. If we believe in reincarnation, we don't have to believe in that. But the world is already in a different place. And I think that children are not too young to learn about those concepts. The opposite, that will make their life easier.
I agree with you. I think your book really, in some ways, encourages parents to teach their children to trust their inner wisdom and their intuition. And I found that to be so impactful.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also a parent coach, and I've been talking to many parents, and it's so interesting how to. It's really a small shift that we can do as parents to help our children to recognize that. And I always say, like, answer their questions with questions. You know, don't rush to guide, don't rush to give answers. Ask them, what do you feel? What do you think? What would you do? And it's never too young to ask them. Obviously, you don't let them make all the decisions, but just ask them, what do you want? What do you feel? How does it, let them choose their clothes, whatever. It's just like those small actions where they get practice in tuning into themselves to get the answer, or to sense what they feel. It's extremely important.
So, why do you believe mindfulness practices like pausing and taking a deep breath are so valuable, especially as life skills for children?
Because we have like this sophisticated system of body, mind, spirit, and it's all connected. So when let's say I have very, kind of big emotion, and it's wild, my thoughts running wild, my emotion running wild, I can use my body to manage, to regulate, to stop for a second, to take a break. So it's like it's one system that everything affects everything. Um, so I can actually use my body to relax my mind or to calm my emotion. Um, and breath in general. This is the source of life. Everything is in our breath. So just consciously taking a breath is right away connecting us to kind of to our, to our essence, it's like a reset. And pausing, just stopping. Even if you do nothing, you don't need, there's no other thing that happens besides giving yourself a moment, then you have the opportunity to not react to what you feel or what happened. And you can take a second and write that, just that little pause and that little space can give us the ability to respond versus reacting. It's just amazing what a small pause can do. So, if you can just tell our, just take a second without even, not talking about, oh, what, yes, no, how, just take a second. That will do wonders. So I think that just the practice of pausing and taking a breath regulate the body, regulate the mind, regulate the emotion, and give us the necessary distance to go from reactive behavior to a more proactive one.
How can this book help open conversations between parents and children about feelings that are often very difficult to even express?
Since it has a really wide range of emotions, so it's a great conversation openers, I think, about anything. If we take, for example, there was something about jealousy of, LB seeing this beautiful butterfly, and she's like right away, like feel this pinch in the stomach, and she's like, "Wow, I wanted to be that." It's so beautiful, and right away there's the comparison and I think for example, that will be a beautiful conversation opener of like, right, there's sometimes you will see a beautiful girl, or, a handsome boy, or someone who's taller than you or skinnier. So how do we manage that? How do we, you know, how do we go into a different place with that? Because we can't take away the challenge from our children. I mean, they're always going to have a challenge of some sort, and one of them will be a comparison or feeling suddenly less beautiful, or all that. So I think it's just even that scene in that book, and there's a beautiful thing that the butterfly is saying back to LB, and really when you realize that there is so much more to just what it looks from the outside, all those good things. A great conversation, just to open that, and maybe something. I think as a parent, when you read the book with your child, pay attention to what kind of like you feel like, okay, that resonates in some way, that touched something in them, and that would be also what do you think happened to LB here, and how did it ever happen to you, and what did you do, and how did you feel? So I think it's just paying attention to their reaction, even if they don't going to say anything, they say a lot with their body and face expressions. Yeah, and any scenario there can be a great opportunity to connect it to their experiences in their own life.
It's so sweet in your book. LB discovers that everyone has unique gifts. So, why is this message especially important for children growing up in today's world?
Yeah, well, it's there's so much going on outside of us, like so many you see, or kind of like amazing things that people do. And today with social media, and I mean, I hope kids in that age are not there, but if they are, I mean, it's everywhere. And there is a very like naturally we tend to look at ourselves from, we have eyes, we always see outside, it's from the outside in. This constant stimulation, this constant data that comes from the outside in, and it's very difficult to kind of like, oh, so what is my uniqueness? And I stay away from saying that the gifts are, me, for example, having a beautiful voice, or I don't know, I run fast. It's more about that we all have light inside of us, and it has different expressions. And the gift is you. It's almost like it's not an external thing that I have. It's me. I am the gift. I am the light in this world. And I think that's important to know the difference between, gifts as talents, or what I'm good at, versus my essence, and that my essence is light, and my light is needed in this world. And yeah, and every child should know that they have it. Now, there are different expressions of really specific talents, and things that I'm good at and I like to do, and beautiful things. We are so creative. We're just creators. But at the same time, even when a child doesn't yet recognize his specific talent, or, trait, it's just that you have that light inside of you, and the world needs that light. So it's I think we need to be very careful about gifts and talents that we talk about with kids, because it right away goes into something very specific in the kid. But my gift could be that I can be sensitive and smile to somebody who's, to my friend, or ask how they're feeling. The gifts are so much, the variety of gifts are so much more than just what we see as talents, and, in a regular way, I would say.
What conversations do you hope this book sparks with families and their children?
So many. It really depends on the family dynamic, but I think that what it did for me, and what it's interesting. My children are older, much older, and but after the book was ready, it was almost like every scenario was reminding me of one of my children, and they actually could recognize themselves in that situation, and that was really nice to see. Um, and And I think that, like, for example, I'll give an example. One of them with the music, when there's one of the times when, the LB is turning to actually play her guitar, and music that's what always makes her feel, better, and take her out of a bad mood or sadness. And I have one daughter that's what she does. She plays guitar and piano, and music is really her comfort. And that's what she goes to when she feels sad or, when she wants to express herself. So I think the conversations is really finding yourself in each scenario. And as a family also, how can we support each other when we have those emotions? And I think one of the many conversations with the parents to have with the kids also is that, I feel all this also. I go through those scenarios in my age and as an adult in the same way, just as you do, just different players, different situations. And I share, like, what do you do when you feel stress? What tools do you use? What help you to overcome a challenge? What helps you to manage your emotion? I think those all that, like, it can be so many ways to use the book in that way. But I was always kind of trying to, like, find myself in the book, find my children in the situation. Because each one has a different, unique way to also, beside the actual, the universal technique of pausing and breathing. I think each one has a unique way also of dealing with things. And I think sharing it with each other can be very beneficial and a great teachable moment.
Well, it's easy to see why this book has a Nautilus Book Award. I mean, my goodness, what a fabulous book for families and children's educators, teachers, counselors, you name it. Where can people go to connect with you and be part of your community?
So we have a great organization called Spirituality for Kids, where we have curriculums and programs for schools, for parents, and the website it's sfk.org. And the book is available on that website, but also available, of course, on Amazon. And they can find a lot of resources there. And the book is just another beautiful tool. But we have many, many, many more.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Michal. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your Nautilus award-winning children's book, LB, Discovering the Inner Light. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.